This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 941 of Horse Tip Daily. A different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you, one day at a time. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today, Dressage Radio Show co-hosts Reese Kofler-Stanfield and Philip Parks talk about exit strategy, something you should have before you buy a horse. And we'll get right to our tip after this important message from Equestrian Collections. Hi, everybody. Coach Jen here from the Horse Radio Network, and I am here with Debbie from Equestrian Collections, and she's here with the Equestrian Collections Product of the Week. Take it away, Debbie.
Hi, Jen. This week I'm featuring color, and all your listeners who listen to me every month know how I love color. This week I'm featuring the Horse, Perry, Jumping, Bat, and Dressage Whip. And the reason I'm featuring these is the colors that comes in russet orange, it's bright orange, hot pink, beautiful blue.
Dang, I just went to the webpage. Woohoo!
Yeah. And but one thing I wanted to mention about this, the bat, it's not, jumping bats tend to be kind of short. This one is actually longer than some of the jumping bats that I have seen in the past. And so it's almost a crop. It's not quite a crop size, but almost a crop size without the wrist band. So you can actually use this for more than just a little bit of a jumping bat. It's more like it's a little bit longer than a regular bat and a little bit shorter than a crop. And it's got that. It's just really, really cool. As well as the bat, they also have dressage whips. Now, these whips are particularly long as well. I had to have the orange one, of course.
Of course.
So I got one of those. And I noticed it is actually longer than what you usually think of with dressage. So that has some good things, too, especially if you're doing some round pen work, but you don't want to do the whole big, lunge whip thing. It's really good for that. Very light, very, very light, and very bright. I'm telling you, if you are in a boarding barn and you have one of these, you're going to know if somebody takes your bat.
Yeah, they're not only brightly colored, but they're shiny and brightly colored.
Yeah, they're very, very cool. And they're very inexpensive. I mean, it's less than $11 for the dressage whip and less than $8 for the bat. So they would make fantastic little, birthday presents or, just little gifts for people that you might be looking for a little present for, but you don't want to spend a ton of money, but it's really, really, really cool.
Great.
I think these make perfect gifts for that, so that's why I wanted to feature them this week.
Great for riding schools and camps because you can tell which one is which one, and the kids are a lot less likely to misplace them.
You don't have to put a name on it.
That's right.
If you have an orange bat, it's going to be yours.
An orange bat is an orange bat is an orange bat. Well, you can go to equestriancollections.com. And up there in the great big search bar at the top of the page, you can just put Horse Perry, H-O-R-Z as in zebra, E, Horse, and then space, and then P-E-R-R-Y, and the search will bring right up both the jumping bat and the dressage whip. Well, thanks a bunch, Debbie. We'll see you next time.
First up is Lori, who writes into the Facebook page. She was the one who asked about. We had a big discussion about buying a horse, and she was the one that asked us to talk about that. So that's great. That gave us a little bit of topic to talk about, and she just thanks us for spending the time on the show to talk about horse shopping. It was a great overview from you and I, she says, and very helpful as she gets started to prepare her finances, etc., for making her first purchase. Love hearing the support for adult amateurs and points on evaluating an off-the-track thoroughbred as well. Very interesting. Keep up the fantastic work. So that makes us feel good. We get a little bit
we love that.
Yeah, a little bit of love, which leads me into an email that we got from one of our longtime listeners, Vera. Rubinus, no, I can't say. I'm sorry, Vera. I have a hard time with last names, and I always ruin them. And
It's Vera.
It's Vera,
who's a wonderful listener.
She writes in. We talk about stuff all the time. She wanted to bring up the point that was a good one, and we didn't talk about in this discussion, and might be a great way to wrap up the discussion, is about horse shopping, and we need to talk about what are we going to do with the horse 5-10 years down the road when it's ready to retire, or so what do you think about that? What do you think about that, Reese?
Yeah, I think that's a great point that Vera brings up that we didn't talk about. And I think both Philip and I are passionate about this. And I think you have two choices. I think you need to have a plan when you buy a horse of any level. What is
how
the
long do you want to keep it?
How long do you want to keep it?
At what point is it time to think about either the next horse or not riding or whatever you're going to do? There has to be a long-term plan as well. I think Vera brings up a great point. Yeah.
Well, and I think you have to be honest with yourself and say, do I want to retire this horse for the rest of his life? Or, I've essentially done what I needed to do with this horse. And is it time to sell my horse and move on? And I've had students that have done that. And from a financial standpoint, I've just had, especially young riders, where the parents are like, I am not retiring this horse for the next 10 years.
Right.
And I respect that. Like, I absolutely respect that. And we move to sell that horse, and we talk about that. And then I am personally retiring 3 horses right now, which on a small farm, that creates a little bit of an issue. I am retiring my mom's. She literally was the inductee of the Mara Hall of Fame for the International Hunter Futurity. First one. Her name is Magician. She will live here till it is time. There are days sometimes I'm like, I don't know, Madge. Her name's Magic, and she will live here. She babysits actually my 2-year-old, so she very much has a job here, and will always be taken care of. She gets as good of care that I can provide her, and I also have my 2 FEI mares. My mare I talk a lot about her, Jamaica. She was my first Grand Prix horse, a really serious Grand Prix horse, won a few Grand Prix in Florida, and she's the mom of 3 of my kids, because I don't have children. So my 4-legged kids are my children. She's the mom. So she will always have a home here. She will always be taken care of. And then I have Sammy, who was my schoolmaster for years and really helped, support my business over time, and was a wonderful workhorse for me. She was as valuable as Jamaica was for my business. And so I feel very, very passionately that those 3 horses will be retired. The 2 mares, Meep and Sammy, are at a friend's farm, and they are retired there, and Magic lives here on the farm. So I'm very passionate.
It's a tricky problem. Yeah. Well, when you don't have your own farm, and
you don't have your own farm,
maybe you want to buy another horse, or but you've got the expense of boarding a retiree, right? For who knows how long, right? I mean, horses
I don't
can
know.
have a long life, and you want them to have a long life, but it can create some financial hardship if you didn't plan on that, right?
Right, and I think
it's for sure something to think about, there's also the situation that your 7-year-old horse that you bought 2 years ago, gets an injury, and then what do you do, right? This, you have to kind of, it happens with horses, right? And then you can no longer ride them, so there has to be a retirement plan, or you gotta, kind of figure things out. So Vera, it's very important to think about what's the end game here. When is it time to sell the horse if you don't want to retire it yourself? Before something catastrophic happens.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is too, the question to insure your horse or not to insure your horse. I think that wasn't something we were going to talk about, but I think that that is a good question. And I have different views on my farm. I choose to insure my horses. I feel like I don't want to be making a decision on if I can afford the colic surgery or not on my way to the clinic. So for that, I personally insure them. But I have clients that say, I'm not going to do that. And Philip, I don't know what your take on that is.
It depends. It depends on the horse, but I think emergency surgery insurance, is important. And there's all kinds of different insurance you can get at different price points, and there's loss of use insurance, and you can get insurance for everything, right? Whether it's horses or cars or houses, and you can. I don't believe in kind of blanket over insuring everything. you have to look at what's the what's the value of the horse, and what are you going to do. But yeah, I do like the emergency surgery.
I mean, for me,
again, so that it's not a question about money when it comes down to that kind of.
And that's
decision.
For me. I sleep a little better with that and knowing that. So I have to build that when I buy a horse. I mean, I have to build that into the cost of the horse along with the vetting. So I think it's important. And then your decision to retire or not to retire. I mean, I think that needs to be in the decision. Or are you? A lot of my amateurs struggle with: am I going to sell this horse or am I not going to sell this horse? And I think that you just need to think about it when you buy a horse. So that's sort of, I think, both Philip and I. Philip, you're also retiring a horse. So
I have a retired mare. I mean, she gave us 3 beautiful foals, and I rode her for a few years, and my mom rode her for a few years, and now she's retired. And I don't live on my own farm at the moment, so yeah, she's a monthly cost. She's at a nice retirement farm that doesn't have all the bells and whistles as the training farm. But yeah, I mean, it's just something that we kind of knew that we had to accept that's if we're going to retire a horse, that's what we have to do. And we'll pay for her for forever. For as long as she's around.
I mean, that's my view too.
It's part of being a responsible owner to have a plan for that. So
yeah. Absolutely. And I think horses that work hard for you over many years, but again, I have had clients that say, yeah, the horse has got to be sold. I'm not doing that. And I respect that too. And I do respect that they're thinking ahead and say, I don't want 20 years or 10 years or whatever.
Right. I always bring it up with clients that are thinking like, should I buy a schoolmaster? It'd be really nice to be able to ride the Pre-St. George movements, for example, and learn from that. And at that point, I always have that discussion. Well, a schoolmaster is great, but you got to think, if you're buying a 15, 17-year-old horse, how long would you like to have this horse? Would you like to ride it for a year and then maybe sell it on to somebody else? But if you have it for 3-4 years, you're really thinking about having to retire that horse. And if you can accept that and that's why those horses don't cost all the money that a 10-year-old Pre-St. George horse will cost, because somebody's got to be responsible and retire it and make sure that a horse, has obviously worked really hard throughout its life and at the end of the working career, you might be able to you might have that horse for another 10 years or so, or who knows how long, but yeah, and at that point, the client or whoever I'm talking to says, "Oh, well, if I'm paying for a horse, I'd like to be able to ride it." So
sure,
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So great question, Vera. Thank you for bringing that up. That we didn't add that to our discussion about buying a horse, but I think it's definitely something to chat about and to think about. And again, as you're buying a horse, open discussion with your trainer is really important. And these are all things are good questions.
Keep the communication going, right?
Yep. Yeah. Philip and I aren't offended by these questions, so bring it on.
Great
so
stuff to talk about. Yeah, because it all plays a part in our role as trainers and guidance for people. We want to think about all aspects of buying a horse or owning a horse or riding or all these things. So it's great. Before we finish here, Reese, I wanted to bring up another email. We got a few emails.
I love it. We love emails. Bring them. We love it.
This email is actually from a listener who had a training question that we covered. The listener's name is Jess, and she was talking about, I think it's a thoroughbred mare, and we had a big discussion about stretching. She sent us some video of the horse before, and that led us to a great discussion about stretching in a previous episode. And so she sent us a little update.
Yes,
she just
it's
says
awesome.
Here, Jess Boston just says, wanted to thank you and Reese again for taking the time to answer my questions about my mare. It was last December. A friend took some video of her trotting today, and I think just thought I'd send it to you. We went back to the basics as you suggested, and she's made a ton of progress in her contact and movement, I think. She's not curling behind the bit anymore, and she still offers some stretch sometimes, but we've put more boundaries around it. She's a lot of fun to ride. Thanks for your help. So that's great. And she sent this updated video, and the horse and the rider look great. Really big improvement in the horse, I have to say. And she looks like she's going really well, and it's nice to
Yeah.
see. So again, it
Well
makes us
done.
feel good if we've helped you a little bit in your riding. Send us, a video or some email, and gives us a great reason for doing the show, and helps us think that we're doing a good job. So
Exactly.
Thank you very much,
Yes,
Jess.
thank
I
you
really
very much.
appreciate it.
Good job. Keep up the good work. Keep it up.
Well, there you go. To listen to more tips on topics ranging from barn care to websites for horse people, just go to horsetipdaily.com and look for the topics drop-down menu on the left. And you can listen every week to the Dressage Radio Show with Reese and Phillip at dressageradio.com, or you can have every single one of your Horse Radio Network shows with you in one place wherever you go. That is in your phone. Go to your app store for Android or iPhone and search Horse Radio Network and download the free Horse Radio Network app today. And this podcast has been made possible through the generous support of EquestrianCollections.com and listeners like you. Listeners like me, you ask? Well, yes. Folks like you who enjoy the great podcasts on the Horse Radio Network can support your favorite programs by supporting our sponsors like EquestrianCollections.com and also by becoming an official auditor. For as little as $1 a month, you can help support Horse Radio Network programs and qualify for cool auditors-only perks. Go to horsetipdaily.com and look for the great big Become an Auditor banner in the center of the page. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.